A beautiful morning to you. It's 24 minutes gone past 9 a.m. and it's time for the newspaper review. My name is Olusola and I'll be doing... Chimeze will be joining me this morning for the newspaper review. Good morning, Chimeze.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, yeah, so this morning we will be starting with this day newspaper. It says, organ harvesting. Obasanjo pleads for clemency for Ekweremadu's and wife. Fuel subsidy removal. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank facility for palliatives to be disbursed to 50 million Nigerians. Discussions on with incoming governments on modality to phase out policy. Uruwa accuses National Broadcasting Commission of promoting fascism. You find that on page 10 of this day newspaper. Peter will be under pressure to leave Nigeria, says Labour Party. You find that on page 35. Shoyinka, that is Supreme Court comments fascistic. I'm sorry, that is kind of tricky, menacing and unacceptable. Says he's acting like Trump with do or die provocation. Declares as an intimidation of judiciary. And also you can see a pictorial representation of signing ceremony of establishments of NSIA Vital Joint Venture. We have Osinbajo and some other foreign personalities in the picture. Chimeze.
Okay, on the Punch newspaper, opposition reps elect plot to upstage APC. Opposition reps elect meet from greater majority bloc to tackle APC. Group warns members against APC infiltration, targets key house positions. Be warned, 2015 Saraki Dogara action won't be allowed, APC tells reps elect. And FG borrows 800 million for mass transit, cash transfers. That's on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Fresh promissory notes raising national debt, DMO, page 19. Ekweremadu Obasanjo begs UK court for leniency, page 12. Bitcoin platform with 1.5 billion Nigerian users shuts down. Okada riders on rampage, kill cop, injure DPO, page 4 and 5. Lagos Ibadan Expressway ready April 30. Drainage delays Oyo section. That's coming from the federal government, and you can read more on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. And going back to this day, which I read, and with some of the story, I want to emphasize more on the organ harvesting, the letter written by the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, where he is pleading for leniency, for clemency for Ekweremadu and wife. Yes. Looking at this story, you wonder. At first, some people have said that the UK court should be lenient enough to Ekweremadu because of the love of the father to the daughter that made her to commit such offense. But yes, we are talking about a Senate claim where the law is the law. Nobody is above the law. We see what is happening to the former president of America now, where he's been charged to court. Yeah. So it's also a moral lesson to our political leaders these days. Let's always do things right. On the content of the letter, I hope maybe UK will give President Obasanjo a listening ear. But for now, we hope that Ekweremadu faces the music. So that is it. And on Peter Obi under pressure to leave Nigeria, the Labour Party, which they reinstated. I don't know. Peter Obi lost the election and they told him to go to court. He's in the court now. And APC are still persuading him. What do they want again? Is it that the mandate has been given? Let's wait till the court rulings. And on 29th May, I believe that Bola Tinubu will be sworn in by 29th of May because the tribunal will not have ended. And there has been some people has raised eyebrows that election tribunals, they are not easily won in Nigeria. So maybe we'll still see Tinubu for the next. But for now, everybody should keep calm. Tinubu is the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And he will be sworn in on 29th of May. If the tribunal, because they've not started sitting, because they will sit first, adjourn, and there will be so many adjournments. This case might linger till next year, because from appeal court to Supreme Tribunal will give his own verdict, appeal court will come in, Supreme Court will come in. And for Obi under pressure, why is he leaving Nigeria for what? So let's just watch as the drama unfolds. Yes.
Thank you, Chimeze. Moving on, we have the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. Subsidy removal. Federal government gets $800 million World Bank loan for palliatives. You find that on page 9 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. On page 5, more crises for Labour Party as court sacks chairman, secretary and others. Treason allegation. Odedeji exposed to assassination. Group accuses federal government of exposing Peter Obi, Dati, others to assassination via treason alarm. Says Atiku, other democracy activists, rights may be breached through unlawful arrest, detention. Warns that nothing must happen to Obi, Dati, Atiku, other civil society activists plead that they must be protected at all times by security operatives. You find that on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. Still on page 8, Obasanjo rights clerk of UK court pleads for the Ekweremadus. And on page 6, FEC approves 15.3 billion naira for census ICT digital devices as customs gets 17 billion naira for additional barracks. Still on the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. On page 6, federal government declares Friday, Monday public holidays for the Easter break. Plateau House of Assembly sealed over speakership crisis. You find that on page 7. On page 8, federal government keeps issuing promissory notes. DMO raises the alarm in spite of rising debt stock. And on page 5, NBS total capital importation stood at 1,060,000.73 in Q4 2022. And on page 8, Buhari inaugurates National Council for Digital Innovation Entrepreneurship. And that is all on Nigerian Pilot newspaper this morning. Moving on, we have the First News newspaper. Court stops Labour Party National Chairman, Secretary, others from parading cells. IPOB destabilizes Nigeria with funds raised in your countries. Minister tells world leaders. And on subsidy removal, federal government secures $800 million from World Bank as palliative for poor Nigerians. Still on First News newspaper, Kaduna government reinstates 1,288 sacked primary school teachers. They want to force me on exile, Obi cries out. They want to force me on exile, Obi cries out, says leaked audio conversation with Oyedepo fake. They want to divert our attention from a blatantly stolen mandate. Still on First News, Obasanjo writes UK pleads for clemency for Ekweremadu and family. Begs Old Bailey Court clerk to intervene. Ensure UK government tempers justice with mercy. Ekweremadu wife have learnt their lessons from ordeal. And that is all on First News newspaper this morning.
Okay, the story of Ekweremadu and family cannot go away easily from the press this morning. But, I hope we'll learn to do the right things in Nigeria.
Yeah, there are actually legal ways to go about this thing.
Sure. And also, the Minister of Interior has done what he knows how to do the best, declaring public holiday for
the Easter celebration.
Yes, I believe that's the only time I hear more of the minister when it is time to Rauf Aregbesola. That he's laudable when it comes to declaring public holidays. He loves public holidays more than the job. He's a minister that, under his watch, major prisons in Nigeria were raided by terrorists. The one in Owerri, Kuje prison.
Not just raided, they were breakouts also.
Breakouts, and nothing has been done. If not arresting some of the people that escaped. How will you talk about it? Who is the person in charge? Is not doing anything. He's, in fact, like I said, the only time you hear him is when he declares public holidays. And also, there is this story I'm trying to remember. You mentioned, you read out
about.
I'm trying to see it again.
EPOB or the subsidy?
Yes,
okay, EPOB.
Yes, is it EPOB or IPOB?
IPOB.
Well, kudos to some of especially the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, on what he's done with that. You know, the federal government, since declaring IPOB the terrorists, there have been some activities which are condemnable, and I don't want to sound defensive, but the way it is, attacks before the elections, attacks reduced after the arrest of the factional leader of the IPOB, the one that is based in Finland. After his arrest, we saw a lot of things. Before, there were fears if the election could hold in the southeast, but thanks to Almighty that after his arrest, Simon Ekpa in Finland, the tension downs, and what the governor of Anambra State had done, he made sure he talked about it. It was all about criminality, and a lot of people hide because you wanted
sales. You find that on page 20 of the newspaper. Still on New National Star, organ harvesting. Obasanjo writes UK court, please leniency for Ekweremadu and wife. You find that on page 2. This story seems to be on every newspaper this morning. And on page 15, foreign airlines may exit Nigeria over $802 million trapped funds, says Ayata. AFDB supports Africa FinTech Hub project with $525,000 grant. You find that on page 2. And on page 17, on the election petition, Obi under pressure to go into exile. Labour Party alleges, calls on international community to intervene as conflicting court orders tear party apart. And on page 2, Buhari OK's 320.3 billion naira intervention fund for tertiary institutions. And on page 7, appeal court overturns High Court judgment awarding 30 billion naira fine to Ebonyi government. Still on New National newspaper on page 17, Adamu says APC still in pains over Kano loss. And on page 2, subsidy removal, Nigerians to benefit from $800 million World Bank palliative. And on page 7, we paid 30 million naira to prevent doubts from disturbing Anambra markets, says PG. Easter celebration, federal government declares Friday, Monday as public holidays. You find that on page 8. And that's all on New National Star newspaper this morning.
The most funny story here for me is the APC still in pains over Kano loss. Yes. If APC as a party had done well in Kano State, yes, relatively they did a bit well, but when it comes to the grassroots politician who is a former Kano State governor, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, don't forget that the current governor, Umaru Ganduje, came from his camp, but they fell out at the process. But Kwankwaso went to his party, NMPP, and in fact, it was a question of who is who in Kano. And the people of Kano showed once again that Kwankwaso is a force to reckon with. That's why he won the state. He won almost all the Senate seats and House of Rep members in Kano State. So with that, I hope the APC can go back to the drawing board. But like what I am seeing or what I've said, if APC do not buckle up by the next election in 2027, NMPP will dismantle APC in the north. And I see Labour Party coming especially from the east. Now that both of them have one state each, Kano for NMPP, Abia for LP, and majority of members, reps, 8 senators so far, a whole number of House of Rep members, and in States House of Assembly, where you have a whole lot of numbers for them. So APC, if they are in pains, they should go and buckle up and get ready for 2027 election. If not, they will not only be in pains, they will be shattered by 2027.
Okay, moving on. We have the Daily Times newspaper. Federal government approves 320 billion naira, 15.3 billion naira for tertiary schools, census ICT gadgets, secures $800 million subsidy palliative from World Bank. Still on Daily Times newspaper. Shehu Sani to Shoyinka, you are wrong about obedience. On page 5, court bars Labour Party chairman, 3 others from parading themselves as officers. And also we have the 10th NAS Minority Caucus strategizes to uphold democracy. And this is 102 billion naira oil deliveries. Senate indicts NNPC for lack of transparency. And that's all the story we have on the Daily Times newspaper. Chimese, would you like to enlighten us on these stories?
Okay, on Daily Times, I would just want to speak on 2 issues, conflicting court orders on the Labour Party chairman and 3 others. You know, after that court order, yesterday there was another court order also restraining a Labour Party from stopping their chairman in performing his duties as chairman. I've said it over and over. It is time for our judiciary to uphold this country. You cannot be giving conflicting orders everywhere. And that's why the corrupt ones can easily tell you go to court, because they can find their way in the court. It is time for judiciary to uphold that institution. Look at, in just one day, you have 2 conflicting orders. This one will bar the chairman. Another one will say you have no right to bar him. So it's very, very sad. Judiciary should step up and do what is right so that this our system will not collapse. And lastly, on that Daily Times.
Yeah.
Yes, the story of Sheikh Husani to Soyinka. Well, for me, Soyinka has not really. In the last election, I expected him to talk, to speak, but he never did. He is now being careful with his words. From the interview he granted days back, I hope there can still be some openings on that so that we can get deeper. Like Sheikh Usane has said, let me see if Soyinka will reply to this, and we'll take it up from there.
Okay, thank you, Chimeze. And lastly, on today's newspaper review, we'll be taking the Leadership newspaper. It seems to have some different stories apart from every other one. Sam Amuka, Task Media Commission on Professionalism. You'll find that on page 6 of the Leadership newspaper. Subsidy removal. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank funding for palliatives. You find that on page 19 of the Leadership newspaper. Post-election crisis. Conflicting Edo FCT court orders unsettle Labour Party. Fate of National Chairman Agboro hangs in the balance. Court injunctions cripple party activities. Ebonyi Labour Party governorship candidate accuses Agboro of forgery. You find all that stories on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. Outgoing UK envoy. I love Nigerian food. Dance. I'll be back. You find that on page 9 of Leadership newspaper. 755 killed, 1,321 injured by IEDs in Northeast, says United Nations. You find that on page 9 of the newspaper. On Easter, federal government declares Friday and Monday public holidays. You find that on page 8. That is actually all on the Leadership newspaper. Chimeze, any last word before we go?
Well, it's just on the minority caucus. I hope that we don't go down to the years of Saraki in the House of Rep.
Hopefully.
Well, let's see how it turns out. But we wish Nigeria well.
Okay. Thank you for doing this with me this morning, Chimeze. It's 10 o'clock and it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Newspaper Review on Lagoon Radio, broadcasting from the Diocesan Media Center, Marina, Lagos. Don't forget, we still have a lot of shows lined up for you. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio. You can download the app on Google Play Store and on Apple Store. My name is Anulu Akpalaba, and thank you to my producer, Sandra Nte. Till we come your way tomorrow, stay connected to Lagoon Radio. Bye.